Hi everyone, I'm making a YouTube video today. I've never made one before, so I hope it goes well. Anyway, I'm just going to jump into this. My video is going to be about what it is that I do for work, and I have an equipment that's called the Quantum Enhanced Solutions Theory, 4th generation, Qest4. So what this does is it emits frequencies in the body and basically asks the body a question. And I wanted to go into a little bit about the science behind this, and so we're going to just kind of go into that real quick, and then it'll come back around to basically what I do. But I wanted to give an answer to a lot of questions that people have been asking me is, how does it work? And, how do you know that this isn't, just some fluke or whatever? So I wanted to explain this to people. So quantum physics is the science behind this. And so quantum physics, is the study of matter on the very, very small scale, very small, particle level. So I'm just going to kind of talk about something I was studying out. So the scientists did some tests in the past that I want to show you a diagram about it. So this is like a baseball shooter. So when they shot these little baseballs at this big board here that has 2 holes in it, when they shot the baseballs, they noticed that the baseballs would actually pick a hole, and they never moved the thing that was shooting them. And they would pick holes and they would hit the backdrop, and they'd create a pattern, and they wouldn't hit the same place every time. And the scientists were like, that's interesting how it kind of decides where to go without anything being moved, right? Well, now they shrunk that same exact thing that they were doing onto the particle level, and they shot particles. And when they were shooting these particles, they were shooting them through holes, just like with the diagram. And they had a backdrop that could copy the patterns to how they were landing everywhere. And what was interesting was, not only did they do the same thing, go at it just like they did with baseballs, but the particles were able to somehow exist at the same time, going through both holes. And that was just very interesting, that just because it's smaller, it does something completely different. And it wasn't splitting either. The particles were going, and they went through the same, at the same time through different holes out of the 2. They were both, it was going through both holes at the same time. And then what's even more weird is, after it went through the holes, it spread out into waves. And so the waves were creating highs and lows. So in the middle it was like this, and then it would go smaller and smaller. And there was about 7 or so of them. And they were called the highs and the lows. That's what they called them. And so when they were going at the backdrop as waves, when they hit the backdrop, it didn't go like this and make a pattern like that. It actually made very defined lines. And they're very noticeable that they were there as lines and not spread out. And then they did the same exact experiment. Wait till you hear this. This is just totally interesting. They did the same exact experiment without observing it. And when they didn't observe the particle that was being shot, they noticed that those lines became more spread out, which is very interesting. They were like disorderly, so to say. And they weren't as tight and as, noticeable in a pattern of defined lines. So that's very interesting, to where if things are on a smaller level, they act different than when they're on a bigger level. And so anyway, that was just my little study about quantum physics, which is what this uses. And I just wanted to share a little bit about that because it's very interesting, because when you're changing things on an energetic level, it's going to respond differently than if you were to change it on a bigger level. And so if we're using quantum physics to see into the body and see what's out of balance, you can see things in greater detail, basically, than if you were to just look at it with your eyes. Like you're looking at a baseball, you see a baseball. But if you shrink it down to a particle, it's one particle, but somehow it's doing all these other things that just the baseball did. And so let's take an organ, for instance. If you have, like, your liver or something. If your liver is not functioning properly, then it kind of, doesn't really, it doesn't turn to mush or anything. It's really unhealthy looking and frail and stuff like that. And then if you have a healthy liver, it looks really nice and everything's smooth and stuff like that on the outside. And that all that is the particles are relaxing. And if you were to shift the particles back into order, then they would tighten up and look better, and it would function properly. So that's kind of what this does, is it can see where there's an imbalance. Imbalance meaning energetically the particles are shifting to be out of order versus in order. So if you were to get scanned on my equipment, it would come up with like any different, any number of things. Like if you have emotional things going on, or if your spine is out of line, or if you have a cold, or if your organs are kind of not strong, or if they're diseased even. People have been diagnosed with different things, and they come and they see me, and we're able to see how it is we can strengthen their body energetically using supplementation, or the machine can also create homeopathic remedies that are energetic only. And so if they want to use supplementation or in diet change, we use kind of all of that together to help shift the body back into order, so to say, energetically, with all of these things. So when you have I'm sorry, forgive me. I have to get my thoughts together sometimes. So if you have the small matter, if that shifts first, then in turn, the small matter is making up the large matter, correct? So particles are what makes up the organ, and so that's the small matter. And then the organ itself is the large matter. And if the organ is out of whack or whatever, in a large way, then that just means a large amount of particles are shifting in the wrong direction. And if you wanted to put them back into order, you're going to have to use supplementation. If they're a little bit out of order, then you could just use the imprint that we can make here. And so the imprint just does energetic only. So like if it's a very small amount, like if your spine was out of line, you went and got an adjustment. That would be the big thing that you did physically, like the supplementation, so to say. The chiropractor would pop it back into place, and it would be in line. But energetically, your body still remembers where it used to be out of line. And that sounds totally weird, but it's true. And then all that is there's still particles. Like, here's your spine in line. And if it was out of line, it looked like this. And then they put it back in line. There would still be some particles hanging out over here. It was like not all of them were shifted. So if you took a little dropper bottle that was a homeopathic imprint, it would take those small particles that are not listening to the larger mass, and it would put them back in with it, so that your body wouldn't think to go back over there again. But that always happens when you get adjusted. You have to do it multiple times to make sure that it stays. But if you were taking a homeopathic remedy that we can generate here, it would make it happen less, because your body is going to move those things energetically so that your body isn't thinking, I need to go back there. So anyway, I mean, you can do it however you want. So this happens on every level, though. So if you need supplementation, like vitamins, or like for like a liver, for instance, you do use milk thistle. And so all the milk thistle would do is move larger amounts of matter back into order. The healing is in the order of things. So if you're not healed and things are diseased or sick, that just means they're out of order. So if you can put the particles back to where they're supposed to be, that is the healing. So it's just, I'm trying to explain this to where you can see this on a scientific level with like how things really work in the world, not just telling you if you take supplements you'll be healthy. That's not the point. First of all, it's not just taking supplements. Your body actually, through the equipment, can tell what exact supplements your body needs at the time. Because this is asking a question to your body saying, what's out, first of all, and then what do we need to fix it? And it can tell exactly the amount that you need to fix that. How much, how many times a day, for how many weeks. It'll tell you what exactly to take. And so like for the liver, it would say, probably milk thistle, just because that's the strongest herb that there is out there. But sometimes people, not everybody's the same. Not every body is the same. specifically. I know I just said that, but if you get what I'm saying, everybody in every body. Not every physical body is the same as the other. So your body might like milk thistle, and my body might like marshmallow root. It doesn't matter. It's not about what we know to be the best thing. It's about what does your body want. And you can't really know that because you can't ask yourself a question. But this can energetically ask you questions and tell you, what your body's going to respond to based upon emitting the frequency of that product into your body. And if your body responds in a positive way energetically to that product, then that is what it means to be responsive to that versus the other thing. I don't know if that makes sense. If anybody has any questions, you can feel free to call me. My number is 719-371-2538. And I'm available pretty much every day, so except for Saturday. Yeah, so like if anybody ever has any questions, you can call me, but I just wanted to kind of explain that. We didn't get into it as much as I wanted to, but there's going to be more videos to come, and we'll continue talking on this. So anyway, if anybody has any questions or comments, you can comment on Facebook or wherever I share the video, or you can contact me if anybody wants to know more. We can talk on the phone, or you can just wait until the next video comes out. So anyway, thanks for watching. See ya.